Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Michigan Insider, Michigan.247sports.com. I'm Alejandro Zuniga. That's Sam Webb. We just listened to Sherrone Moore and a few players at their Monday afternoon press conference preparing for the 2024 Michigan football season. Fall camp's over, Sam. It is game week. Fresno State's coming to town on Saturday night. You ready for this?
Absolutely. And it seems like they are too.
Yeah, it sure does.
Yeah, it makes me think of back at Big Ten Media Day, where we were talking to Max Bredesen, sorry, Max. How the Bredesens run together.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how you don't talk about the national championship in August. You talk about the first game, and these guys have that first game mentality. Because if you have the last game mentality, you should be like, I'm not saying that's what happened to Florida State, but it came up in talking to Sherrone. He said, you overlook a team like Fresno State, and you get beat like Florida State did against Georgia Tech on Saturday.
Yeah, just an aside, not the best defensive line in the country. That was my takeaway from that game.
Yeah.
But that's for another day. From today, talking quarterbacks, all right? We are not getting an answer directly from Sherrone Moore on the quarterback battle. We do have the top two, though, and that's Alex Orji and it's Davis Warren. Thoughts on that heading into the final week as they are going to see who practices better to see who gets the starting snaps on Saturday night?
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be Alex Orji as QB1, as the first quarterback out. But I think what you can glean from what we've heard about Davis Warren is he's had a fantastic camp. That aligns with everything that we heard. Number 16, going back to spring ball, he was playing much better with pressure in his face. We saw it in the spring game. Now, it was simulated pressure, but it was consistent with everything we saw in practice, and it's carried over in the fall camp. And so that was kind of the thing. His arm talent has been unquestioned. They would tell you he throws the football as well as J.J. McCarthy. I'm not saying he's J.J. Don't go pulling this quote and like the Buckeyes do and saying that I'm saying he's J. I'm not saying that. But as throwing the football, he can throw it like JJ, but JJ can run around and throw it. That's not Davis. But he's doing a better job of when pressure is bearing down, taking a couple of steps, buying time in the pocket, making some plays. And he's been outstanding in practice from what they say. And so my takeaway is we're going to see him. I think we see Alex Orji first, but I think we see Davis Warren in some meaningful snaps. So what does that mean? Non-mop-up duty. That'd be beneficial for a couple of reasons. Number one, neither of these quarterbacks have really thrown the football in meaningful scenarios. So even if he's QB2, you want to have him get meaningful snaps in that capacity. And then if for whatever reason, if Alex Orji is QB1 like I think he'll be, and he falters, you want to have Davis Warren get some snaps so he's ready to take over if his number gets called.
Yeah, I mean, we heard from Sherrone Moore, right? Anyone who knows Davis Warren knows what he's been through to get to this point. He's a fighter, and that no matter what the situation is, he's not going down without a fight. Heard from players that said Alex Orji's throwing the ball as well as Davis is, which is good.
Yeah.
You've got the legs. Do you have the arm? Do you have the layering? Do you have the knowledge? Sounds like the whole package is coming together.
Yeah, I mean, you wanted it to not be easy for Alex. Yeah. You wanted him to be pushed, and by all accounts, he's being pushed. And so if he can be pushed and hold on, that's the best case scenario, and that's what I'm hearing has happened. And now the test gets different. Now, can you hold it with actual game pressure? We'll see come Saturday.
Speaking of game pressure, the men up front. Sherrone opened a few eyes, maybe perked a few ears. I think anyone who subscribes over at the Michigan Insider already knew it was coming. Yeah. But some surprising names on the offensive line. Sam, take it away.
Yeah.
We're on top of it.
Yeah, we mentioned back before I went on vacation, I think it was the Intel report number 2, I mentioned Evan Link as a name at right tackle to look out for. I mean, up until then, the talk at right tackle was Jeff Percy and Andrew Gentry. I said, no, Evan Link is getting buzz in camp. I came back from vacation, and it wasn't just getting buzz. It was like, this is the guy. And so Not, jumping in the report, but I think Evan Lincoln is going to be the starter at right tackle at this point. Sharon said it's competition. They see how it breaks out, but everything that I hear to this point about how he's performed, I think he would have to fall off this week in practice for it not to be him, in my opinion. To me, watching him in high school, I watched him go up against Nick Harbor, and the thing about Evan in high school was he was about the same size as Nick Harbor.
The track star.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he was about 265, 270.
Yeah.
And so he needed to add weight. Well, Evan is 328 now. It's like, man, the strength and conditioning program has done, and Abigail O'Connor, they have done a fantastic job of building up, because he was always quick, he could always move. Could he be strong enough to move guys? And now he's strong enough to move guys. You put all that together, and it sounds like he's really rising to the top. I think he's going to be the guy at right tackle. And then I think the bigger surprise, and this was the other piece that we put out there. See, I think some other people were reading our reports too, right? Because they asked about it. Was all the talk had been at center about Greg Crippen and Raheem Anderson. Said, hey, people need to talk about Dom Guidis at center as well. He is a factor at the center position, moving over from defensive line. But they're saying, man, this guy has made himself more than just depth. He is a legit factor as the starter at center, really pushing, might be the guy. If I were a betting man, if you're asking me right now, who do I think would be the starter at center? I think it would be Dom Guidis.
That's wild.
I think it would be Dom Guidis. Now, they got a week of practice to go.
Yeah.
We'll see how it plays out. But physical, a mauler. The other guys have experience on that side of the ball in a playbook. Could he make that gap up? And listening to Sharon, it sounds like he's made that gap up. So that's the most intriguing position battle on the team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of position battle where it really could shift in the week of practice this week. I think it's Dom Guidis, but we'll have to wait till the end of the week to really see.
Yeah, and we'll see on Saturday night at the Big House. A couple more things we know we'll see. We talked to Zeke Berry today, as I know you talked to him before fall camp started. He confirmed he's still repping about 50-50 at nickel and at safety. Sounds like he's the guy probably going to be the starter at nickel. At least that's what we've heard from coaches over the last couple weeks. And then we got final confirmation. We know this is coming, that Jair Hill is going to be CB2 as long as he holds on to the job. But he's the favorite. He's going to hold on to that job, we think, opposite Will Johnson in the secondary.
Yeah, for Jair, and I remember the very first one of these recaps that we did. If you like the recap, tell us in the comment section. Alejandro Zuniga has been doing an outstanding job getting more camera time, and breaking these, because you see these 2 minute, people say, why are you doing these 2-minute videos? Well, folks, newsflash, we can only use 5 minutes total of video from these press conferences. That's why.
It's our favorite rule.
It's a rule. It's a Big Ten rule.
Big Ten rule.
That we can only use 5 minutes of video. So we could take like a couple minutes of video from Sharon and a couple minutes of video from this player and a couple. So we got it. That's why. So it's like, hey, how about you just recap it, Alejandro? So that's the reason why you only see a minute of video here and a minute of video there. Okay. So that's the explanation. So the watch the recaps. Alejandro does a great job. But what was the question?
Suge.
Suge. Yeah, Suge. Suge, if you go back to the very first recap, Will talked about how he's different.
Yep.
He's not making the same mistakes. He really matured in how in his playbook he's been. He knows the defense. And that has been that was evident in practice when they first started, and he must have been able to maintain it because Amir Hall's a pro in his preparation. This is a veteran guy who's come in, who's trying to go to the NFL. He wasn't going to be out prepped. So you're going to have to maintain that if you're Jair Hill, and clearly he has.
Looking forward to seeing that. We also heard from Sharon. He said TJ Guy pushing Josiah Stewart, pushing Derek Moore right up there, belongs in that same level of conversation.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's been a guy who's been talked about all throughout spring. You expect him when they're rotating, which they're going to continue rotating. He's a guy due for some snaps and for some plays.
Yeah, that's the question. You're honing in on the question for this defense. Look, the 11 on defense is elite.
Yeah.
They are probably the best in the country, or they're at least in the conversation when you talk about the starting 11.
Yep.
After that is the question, and if you go back to last season, that was what separated them. You could not wear Michigan out. You couldn't wear them down. As a one practice observer and questioning whether Michigan could really repeat and doubting what they say inside about being as good as last year. Said, I don't think they can be as good. This is not me. I'm telling you what a practice observer told me. Said, I don't think they could be as good as last year because I don't think they're as deep. Said, you look at Michigan in the Alabama game, for instance. He said, they're in overtime. And their offensive line can't move Michigan off the football. Why is that? You know, you talk to Mason Graham, you talk to Kenneth Grant like we did on Behind the Uniform. They're playing 50, 60 snaps late in the season. And they're like, we can play 50. They were playing 30 snaps early in the season.
Yeah.
Right? They're fresh late in the year. Why were they able to do that? Because they were so deep. Are they going to be as deep this year? So that's why guys like TJ Guy, guys like Rayshawn Benny, Eno Etta moving inside. You know, you look at the depth guys. I'm going to be watching those guys. Amir Hall. You know, your depth guys, how good are they going to be? That's going to determine the ceiling for this defense, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think about that a lot, right? You think about the Rose Bowl and the National Championship. What happens in the Rose Bowl in overtime? Mason Graham blows up a play for a tackle for loss, leads to that, you know, 3rd and long that becomes 4th and goal. Michigan wins the Rose Bowl. Is Mason Graham able to do that if he's been playing 70 snaps every single game for 15 games?
Yeah.
Think about the National Championship. Hey, who's your fourth string safety? It's Keon Sabb. Comes in, plays at the level of the starter.
Yeah.
Does Michigan have that sort of depth on both sides of the ball?
Yeah.
Because of how much they've had to replace. That's going to be the question when it comes to your Oregon, your Ohio State, into potentially
That's crazy.
Another college.
Think about
player.
that. Think of Giovanni Ohadi was like the 8th lineman last year.
Yep.
I mean, you just that kind of depth. We got to wait to see if they really have it, and if they don't, can they stay healthy enough where it doesn't become an issue? Remains to be seen.
That's why national championships are rare. That's why 2023 was incredibly special. A lot has to hit exactly right for it to happen, and it did for Michigan last year. We'll see, starting on Saturday, what this year's picture looks like. Fresno State, a very solid Fresno State team. They've won 9+ games in each of the last 3 years. They return a lot of talent on offense. They've got a decent defense. This is not your walkover team like Michigan's faced the last couple of years. It's going to be a fun one, Sam.
Sure is. It sure is. And, you know, all eyes are going to be on the quarterback for obvious reasons, but this is a nice test for the entire team. To test the depth of the team, to see how much this offensive line, which they talk about this offensive line like it's very 2021 like, and how it's viewed outside versus how good it really is. Good test, right? This backup defensive line being very underrated with how good it is. This is a good test. We're going to see when toe meets leather come Saturday night.
Can't wait. For myself, Alejandro Zuniga, that's Sam Webb. We're over at the Michigan Insider, michigan.247sports.com. You'll find things there before you hear them here. Talk to you next time.